I'm Sam. I've got some Tillandsia here, which is one of my favourites because it's such a delicate little plant and it's absolutely beautiful when it flowers. And I wanted to show you a few of the different stages that we go through, but mostly probably the second stage, which is how to manage your little Tillandsia seedlings if you have limited space. So I've brought here to show you, this is a Tillandsia major. It's quite a dark green, a beautiful plant. This one's just about to burst into flower. And then we've got the minor variety. And you can see some darkness on the leaves there. I'm not sure if that will refocus for you to show you the darkness on the leaves. But that shows that it's had exposure to the sun. It's certainly not burnt or dead ends, that's just more exposure to the sun. Whereas this one doesn't seem to go, this darker green doesn't go that deep colour, although it certainly blushes. The leaves go like a red tinge when it's coming into flower. So I'll put those back and then I'll show you some seedlings that I prepared. These are reasonably large seedlings. These ones are old enough to fend for themselves, so to speak, to be able to manage their own ecosystem and retain enough moisture themselves to be put on a cork. Now these ones I've used a B6000 glue, just a sparing daub, just enough to get the tilly to stick. And I've pre-prepped some wire all the way through the corks, and then I've just put a dollop of glue between the corks as well so that they don't twist on each other. Yet I do like to put the little spinner on so that they can twist where they're being kept. So that's a nice way to keep the bigger ones. I'll pop him back over here on my part-time hanger. And then before I show you what I do with the smaller seeds, that really I could do the same thing, but I have about 300 seedlings here, and that's going to be really tricky to put all of them. There's only 20 seedlings on each of those lots of 5 corks, so each cork has 4 seedlings. That's about enough, because once each of those seedlings reaches full size, that's quite sizable. They won't have space, they'll outgrow each other too soon. So if you are limited for space, there is a more creative way that a grower showed me. Gary May is his name, and this will be fabulous. But I just thought I'd show you before that. These are the major Tillandsia major seed pods. So this is what the seed pods look like when they're just about to burst open. They start going this browny tinge. Sometimes what you can do is put little, I'll grab a plant to show you. This is a Tillandsia, and I did notice one of his seeds is popping open in there, but they won't be able to escape because, oh, there's another one popping open as well. And they can't escape because they're contained within this little organza bag. So some of them are still green, and I don't want to pull them off the plant while they're still that green, because I might just lose the seeds altogether, and that wouldn't be very handy. I just got hot glue on the leaf. There we go. It's on my fingers now, and I rolled it onto the page. So fun. All right, I'll pop this guy back. And as you can see, he's flowered. And of course the flowers were pollinated. So we've got the seed pods. Then we want to germinate them, which is what I'll show you next. But in the meantime, if you're not excited enough to do the seedlings, the seeds, they also will pup. And this one has given off 3 pups, which is fabulous. But 3, why have 3 when you can have 300? All right. So I'm popping that back there, and I'll just show you one that I have put, I've prepared, and I do like to tag everything because otherwise you forget. So I've actually cut a full-size tag. I don't know if I've got any full-size handy. Here we go. These are some tags that I bought cheap online. I hole punched them myself, but then I discovered that they're a bit long, so I actually cut them in half and pre-wire them. So I sit and do a little session while you're at it. But this one I've put some seeds on here and I've just watered it. I'm not sure if you will be able to, if this will refocus for you so that you can see the seeds on there. But it's got its little tag. It's got a couple of hangers here, and then I hang that onto a metal sheet that I have screwed about an inch off my fence. So I'll pop that back over there. But what I wanted to show you today is what to do with little guys this size. They're a little bit small to put on corks, especially if there's only 4 per cork. I can't guarantee that they'll hold enough moisture to be able to survive, although they should, but I don't really have the space, and certainly not hanging space. So I'd be restricted to just the front of corks, not to be able to wrap them around the entire cork and use the 4 sides of it. I don't have the hanging space. So this is an alternative where, yes, I still need hanging space, but I'm not restricted by the amount of corks that I then have to have far enough away that the breeze won't catch them and have them swing up against each other and then knock the flowers off and potentially kill them or then get lost on the ground. So I'm going to show you what I was shown, and this is using a hot glue gun, hot glue, which I have here. I've got just plain water. I might add that these plants have already been separated, although there are some that are still kind of bunchy together. I can just throw them in the water and that will soften them up enough that when you're trying to pull them apart, you're not going to damage the delicate leaves on the plant. I've seen people handle them a whole lot rougher than I do, but I can feel that's kind of pulling. There's actually a seed with its little strings there. There's a seed just hanging there. But I'll pop them in the water and then pull them back out again. So I've given these a spray just so that they'll lift up easier and perhaps separate easier as I go. But the trick to this is to just grab a plant in your hand, just touch one of the leaves up to the glue and pull it away, and you see, I'm not sure if you did see, you get a tiny string, a bit like fishing line. You end up with this tiny string that comes off the end of the leaf, and just tap it against the corner of the container. Now I think this might need a bit of a squeeze because I want those strings to last. So I'll tap that on the corner, and then I'll just do this a few times and see, he's got a few stuck to him, so maybe I can just, there we go, that's all it took. Tap him on. And you can actually determine what length they are in the container too, so that they're not all the exact same length, although that's actually of benefit to them, because when they're all combining, he didn't actually stay, that one broke. When they're all combining, they're able to use each other to help with retaining the amount of moisture that they need to. Of course, you want them to dry out in between as well. What are we doing here? Let's get this thing happening again. It did all of its squeezing onto my page instead of onto the plants. There we go. So we got one happening there. So I'll just do this little process, do a few more, and then I'll show you and finish off the video, because I don't want you to have to sit here through too much longer than necessary. But this is most certainly a space-saving way. And then all you do is you make a little dab of hot glue at the top, and you could either hot glue that onto a little pre-made hook that you've made out of nice bendable aluminium, or you could make a much harder one out of the strengthened steel, but that's a little bit harder to deal with. get off. I think I've hot glue gunned that to my nail. I did. I hot glue gunned my nail into the collection instead of the plant. Come here, little fella. That was sneaky. Yeah, I do talk to plants. I talk to my cat too. I've just lost my dog 2 weeks ago of 15 years. That was devastating. I've definitely had some conversations with her. Hang on, I need to de-thread that last one. I forgot I was too busy talking, which is one of my favourite pastimes. So we'll make a few more just so I've got a little clump to show you, and then I'll just continue with this later and do what's needed and work my way through this collection I have here, which, as I said, it's 300 or so plants. And that way I'll just need a much smaller area. And what you can do is have a piece of wire, and you can attach those little hooks up and down the wire so that these can hang all the way down the wire and take up the one vertical space. And you know, the difference between, say, 30 centimeters and 45 centimeters or 60 centimeters or 90 centimeters. But because they'll be closely communing together, they won't be bumping up against each other like they would if they were on a cork. All right, so I think we'll finish up with this one. Now you notice I'm doing a leaf. I'm not doing the roots. I don't think it matters all that much, but the leaf seems better because the plant's able to then sit more upright and you won't get the plant recurving on itself, and that's not always attractive in a plant. It depends. Some plants are designed to, and some plants actually prefer to be hung upside down. And in fact, these ones don't mind being hung upside down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my gun down and I'm going to collect my little collection of strings that I've got over the side here. And see, that looks really questionable. I will get better at this. However, I will say I didn't give myself blisters, so I'm not cursing Gary who showed me how to do it. But I can tear that very top part off and just give this a bit of a squirt with the hot glue gun to combine them all together, or even give that just a bit of a touch so they're all joined together. And now if I so wished, I'm just going to join it to any old piece of wire, I think, for now. Doesn't really matter as long as it's going to hold. So if I heat that up again, or use this little bit, I can stick it onto my hook like such. There we go. And then I could make another piece of wire with some loops in it and loop these onto that and just link them up, and I can have all these little guys just collecting the breeze, collecting the moisture, but also providing each other with some moisture, which they wouldn't do on a cork, and not bumping up against each other, causing havoc. They're all pretty well stuck where they are. They'll kind of find a spot because they're slightly, they've got a slight, the surface of them is slightly rough because of their minuscule trichomes, and they'll just stay there. And hopefully I get better at not having these little tiny droopy things that I don't even know if you can see on the camera. So there you go, that's Shy Deanna from Woe to Go. Hope that was helpful, and hopefully I'll make the effort to make some further videos about my adventures with Tillandsia. All right, thank you. Cheers.